When I was trying to read some of his work, this whole idea of, his 20 papers that he wrote at that time would have given him tenure in probably one of the finest universities in the world. But he actually became a person in law. He had a wide vision of both humanities, social sciences, and science. And the point is that if there was a bureaucrat on top, or there was someone who was not as scholarly as Sir Ashutosh at the top, then Calcutta University would not have flourished at that time. So we have huge task and problem of trying to get those people who are going to guide universities. We cannot afford to have, this is a problem, if people are not of top qualities, they cannot actually bring up top quality people. Those who are not outstanding would never see the problems, the agonies of an outstanding person. This is very simple, because the Johuri, as Sri Chittatosh Mukherjee was mentioning, the point is that Johuri himself is a jewel of some sort, is a jewel of great many proportions. And this is a huge task that the government always has, the system has. People have left this state. There are people who have shied away from this state. The people who have not been sympathetic to the state because the state never looked up at them. This is a problem with which we are working. It's a problem, but at the same time, if people repeatedly read the lives and works of these great men, maybe you get certain formula, you get certain kind of latent strategies with which they countered constraints. They actually encountered obstacles, they tided over them, they became victorious, etc. But the problem is that constraints bind us tremendously. Just to finish, things that we have done in higher education in the last 2 years. We have amended quite a few acts. We have amended the way vice chancellors are selected. We have amended the way the deans are selected. And someone said that autonomy is very important, as Sir Ashutosh believed, but the autonomy in a way has been misinterpreted in this state for considerable length of time. Autonomy is not electing vice chancellors or deans. This is not the autonomy that we want. You don't elect Professor Ashutosh Mukhopadhyay as the Vice Chancellor of Calcutta University. You don't do that. The fact that the deans are being selected, there have been news reports that this is an infringement in the autonomy, but the universities, I have taught about 30 universities in 5 continents in this world, and no university I went to outside India had a dean who was elected. We are trying hard to emulate things that give us certain vision about better practices of education, not best practice. We are not allowed to do that. There are constraints, but better practices of higher education. We have tried to streamline selection processes in which we are trying to see that at least politics does not play that much of a role. We have made the selection process one in which the candidates come not knowing that the selection is already there, or the selection is predetermined. We are trying to do that wholeheartedly. We may fail a little bit, but we are becoming successful. And failures, as we know, are pillars of success anyway. We have done remarkable things in terms of sort of getting an idea into the students and teachers that if they want anything that's sort of constraining them to go ahead or spearhead, they can actually come and abuse me like hell. They can ring me up, they can then come to me and say that, we need that, and particularly those universities which are young. And my council has open access to university and college teachers. These are humble efforts, but I must say that all of us who are working in higher education have very few people to look up to. And the first in that list is Sir Ashutosh, and I really hope that people with far insignificant kind of or far distant from the talent and glory of Sir Ashutosh, people like us, the Lilliputs in the frame of that great people, have something to learn from the life and work of these great men. And we require a kind of an honesty, a kind of commitment and wholehearted effort that is required for such whatever little we can do for the higher education. And every step of the way, the higher education people will be inspired by great people like Sir Ashutosh. And again, by saying this, I express my gratitude to be here and for inviting me here and to be allowed to listen to Sri Chittatosh Mukherjee and others. And I really wish this event, this interactive event, to be a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, Professor Sugata Marjit, for giving us insights into the Council's plans for future development of higher education in the state. I think that was indeed a very insightful presentation to us. It is now my great pleasure, ladies and gentlemen and distinguished gentlemen on the dais, to propose a formal vote of thanks. But before I proceed to do so, I have first of all to convey apologies on behalf of our President, Mr. Kollol Dotto, CMD of Andrew Yule, who couldn't be here today because he's running temperature and he's indisposed. So we are missing him. And I'm also painfully aware that we are running about 30 minutes late, and therefore I shall cut short my vote of thanks and simply say thank you, sirs, distinguished speakers, audience, media, for being here, for the supporters to this event, to our chairman of the Education Task Force, Professor R.P. Banerjee, for conceiving, and his task force for putting this event together, to the EIRC Institute of Cost Accountants for associating with us in partnering this event, and to Excite Industry, Andrew Yule, Bhatnagar Institute of Management, and EIILM, George Telegraph, for extending all the support that they have to make this possible. The program is with everybody, so please don't go away. We'll quickly change over to the next session, the first panel discussion. And so once again, thank you all for being here, for spending time, and please don't go away. Now we shall present some mementos through Professor R.P. Banerjee. May I request you, sir, to please present the mementos to the speakers now?
May I request Professor R.P. Banerjee to hand over mementos, Sri Justice Chittatosh Mukhopadhyay. Professor Sugata Marjit. May I now request Ashok Mukherjee to present the memento to Justice Chittatosh Mukhopadhyay on behalf of EIRC of ICAI. To Professor Sugata Marjit on behalf of EIRC of ICAI. May I now request Ms. Chitra Agarwal to hand over a memento on behalf of EIRC of ICAI to Mr. Dr. R.P. Banerjee, the Chairman of the Education Committee of the Bengal Chamber. To Mr. P. Roy, Director General of Bengal Chamber. Thank Thank you. May I now request Mr. Avijit Chakraborty to take over the second session, and would like to invite Professor Y.S. Rajan and Professor Shomuk Raichaudhuri for the next session, please.
And also I welcome the participants and the dignitaries present in the dais. We have been hearing from the distinguished persons for the last 2 hours about the work of Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee, a very distinguished academician and statesman who has devoted his life for the betterment of education and civilization for the entire country. And now we are also hearing about the aspects of higher education from our Honorable Chairman, Professor Sugato Marjit. And West Bengal is now entering in the field of excellence in higher education with many attempts and many endeavors. And now we have gathered here to have a panel discussion on the work of Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee and its effect on higher education in the present scenario. It's needless to say that Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee was an inspiring figure all through, and he was pioneer in bringing the autonomy in higher education in the university sector. He has inspired many researchers, and he was instrumental in the work of Dr. C.V. Raman, Professor Meghnad Shah and others. And his work has created a lot in developing the University of Calcutta in the world figure. In recent times, we are going through a transformation in the field of higher education, and across all sections of higher education, whether it is arts, whether it is law, whether it is engineering technology, whether it is science, there is a need to come in the global level, and there is a lot of discussion, there are evaluations, there are different inspections, there are different discussions which we need to have for improvement in higher education. So in this respect, we will be hearing the views of the 2 eminent professors in our country. One is Professor Y.S. Rajan and another is Professor Shomuk Raichaudhuri. So I will request Professor Rajan to deliberate on this field of higher education with respect to the work of Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee, particularly from the viewpoint of quality of education and its perspective in the present scenario. Thank you.
Yeah. You don't have this thing, no? It is indeed a great pleasure. When I asked for this, I said, I want freedom. If you want to summarize education views of Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee, but anyway, I will not. The whole thing has been made into I went into so much detail, not only him, but a lot of it for future, which I had came through variety of paths. Then I discovered that yes, have all those things done it in a most difficult period of Indian history. So I'm not going to deal with all of it. I am going to show a few of them. Those of you who want to see it, it will be available in the website, I am told. The whole thing will be available. Even that is very, very compressed. But I am not going to say too much on Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee. But what is to be done, what we owe. So I will just very quickly, it is indeed a special honor for me to be a participant in the beginning of the celebration of 150th centenary of Sir Ashutosh Mukhopadhyay, which is also coincidental with the 160th year of the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, with its germination 180 years ago. I should especially thank Professor Banerjee for giving this opportunity, because normally when people call me, then I thought that somebody will be asking for Chairman ISRO to come or something, will you facilitate? Then he just told, I want you to talk. Oh God, what an opportunity. Because unfortunately in this country, we not only kick the ladders, we also kick the mountains on which people came up. We forget it. So it's a special honor. The Chamber has produced many leaders who promoted the commerce industry in India, thus making it grow to a modern economic power. I knew many of them, I am not mentioning their names. It has also helped in the formation of a slew of educational and cultural institutions. It is still growing strong. I am going to do a little faster because I am compressing time. But I think since the whole audience is Indians, we can take a faster rate of talking. I am hopeful and confident. Why I am here? Of course, want to pay respect. But more than that, I am hopeful and confident that the new ideas that will emerge, not only this, I am hoping that in the run-up, in the 1 year, you will have at least several meetings, discussions, etc. So that which comes through the year are captured by the 150th centenary, whole of the year of Sir Ashutosh Mukhopadhyay, will be captured by the Bengal Chamber of Commerce, and at least a few of them nurtured and grown by the Chamber in a major way. That indeed will be the fitting tribute we all can pay to the great man of action. 3 words in which you can summarize: great man of action. In Indian language, Karma Yogi. He does things. Sir Ashutosh Mukhopadhyay. I can say with confidence, such action-oriented initiatives will draw several young men and women. I am showing towards the end also, I am convinced. All over India, and even persons who are abroad. Many of Indians have gone out. And even from outside, doesn't matter if they are white, black, whatever color they may be drawn. Several new Ashutoshas will be emerging out of this initiative in India all over. That is the one what we have to do. Now there are so many things which are on him. I was delighted to hear many of them as actual anecdotes and things like that. I am going to skip it, but in the meanwhile, when I poured through, I found a book in which is not, fortunately it was not quoted here. So I am happy that I put it in this. But there are so many. It is not only Sir C.V. Raman, Radhakrishnan. Many of the atomic power, nuclear power, will have a lot of roots to him. I was just telling him, if today India physics would be nothing had he not been around, because it is C.V. Raman, K.S. Krishnan, so many, Saha, Bose, anybody who will come, and there are several other areas too. So that book is what I am going to, I will show it in the next. It is a book by Nucleus and the Nation by Robert Anderson. He is dedicated to do about the nuclear research in India. There he says like this: what is it in the whole thing? There are so many features. What is it? One single feature I am putting it, which he has given. And that book is being written by an Englishman. He has been not spared anybody. He says so many things on whether it is Saha or everybody he says. But for him, all references are very good. And in that, no greater friend to young scientists could have been in the Vice Chancellor's office than Mukherjee. And this continued even when he left the office to become Justice of Calcutta High Court in 1920 until his death in 1924. He wanted to prepare, this is my statement, he wanted to prepare all of them to excel in international standards. We talk about globalization now, he has put the standard then. It has to be international standard. Most important element of the future of the educating of the future mind is this. lies in such an access, such a commitment and enabling environment for all aspiring students, not just in sciences alone, but in all subjects, multidisciplinary field, even if some of them are just emerging, you may not be ill-defined. It should not be a mere virtual electronic. In India, now everything will say access means Vice Chancellor's office or somebody can be accessed by electronic means. No. It has to be physical access, transmitting affection and confidence. You see that whole thing, I have read many things in that. Reason for this emphasis will be seen later when I show learning society. The education is not only by mechanical means of transmission, it's very complex. The world is entering into learning society. Do youth, you please ponder this question and give honest answers. Then only we will emerge as India. Do youth of today have such a facilitating mechanism or process? That is the question. Before that, now I am going to tell, there are 2 sentences. He gave me the thing that I have to do on that. Educating the future mind. What is the future and then how the mind is supposed to be? So I have given quite a few things in it, which future can be millennia, century, many generations, etc., etc. Few decades, few years, even next year is also a future. In a larger sense, all of them are interconnected. You can't just say that I do nothing today for 10 years and then suddenly we envision something of which will happen 30. No. Having been a person who has done on the Vision 2020, we know that how many things are skipped by India. Unfortunately, India, powers that be, what is it? They all work on the problems of the past, neglected over many years. As in Bible it says, sins of the father visited on the sons and daughters. This I added. So they all work on that. Some lucky ones, tomorrow, day after, 1 week, somebody up to quarter. Nobody looks beyond, whether it is the corporate world, sorry, I am telling in the Bengal chamber itself, but corporate world also quarter. This quarter, next quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. But we require somebody who can look long. So now I will go. I have given quite a few items. Some thing which I wrote as next 60 years in 2007. It was a convocation address. I am not going to give all of them, but a few items I would just say. You have to divide that 60 years. Why 60? I'll have to go a long way, which I am not going to tell it. Most of the younger people who are graduating now, are studying, they are going to live 100 years. It's a sheer fact of, you see the thing, when I was born, 44, 32 years was the male, 26 years was the female. Now I am here, I would have gone long ago. But why it is? The whole worldwide, it is not just India alone, worldwide. Therefore, we have to think in terms of 60 years, at least for the young people. I am dividing it into 2. One is the first 30, 10, 10, 10. This period, 2007 to 2017, for a variety of reasons, I named it a period of cataclysmic fast growth. Cataclysm is there now. Unfortunately, the fast growth has dipped, but it has to come back. Then innovative, etc. The next 30 years is going to be the decades of transformation of human beings. ASEAN, EU, all these which you hear, many of them are going to become irrelevant. SARC, etc. It's going to be very, very different. I will not deal with it in much more now. Then what is it now? I revisited many of it, and I still find that many actions, immediate one, we need to do ramp up quite a bit, and that is going to be a lot of cataclysmic fast growth. Don't think about an orderly one. It's not going to be, it is going to be messy. Each of the present nation societies will have to readjust to new viable systems. It's a market correction which is taking place. Consumptions at various levels have gone in a variety of form into imaginary things. India can have a return to fast growth if we learn to openly get away from hypocritic high moral grounds. We all tell, see, we will say, don't do, corruption is out, but we will try to bump a queue. You know, we do many things. I have explained on this in some other items. I am not going to deal with it. We have in education. We all want justice, the best one to be God, Because of that, we have made so many complex examinations which are going to be the bane, which are the bane of it. That is why you won't find Raman. We lost the Nobel laureate Venkat. He didn't pass some of our JEE exams. Therefore, he went abroad and he got Nobel Prize there. So, we have made such an amount and all hypocrisy. We should learn to use pragmatically the huge stockpile of black money accumulated both within India and abroad, so that it can help to stimulate the economy and prepare the youth for future. I will not go to delve much on it. Now, even then, that 30 years we will be just be the followers of South Korea, Israel and many of these countries. But later of India will bloom only that much later, that is after the 30 years, provided we push the economic growth. We will come back to the last 3 decades afterwards. Now, the second one which I have given there, action now is fast growth, openly get away from hypocritical high moral ground. Then there is another wonderful book most of you should read. It is done by Americans, that intelligence, they have got a National Intelligence Council, 2 years of work world over. They have put a thing called December 2012, alternate worlds. 4 scenarios are given. Fantastic. India is naturally is there, but not as much. China is much more in it. So in that particular one, I have adapted it for Indian situation, and you see my website, this alternate one, it is just got in, 20 alternate one. But again, India has to learn much from it. Much from it, but we have to choose our own path, because they are not going to choose. Nobody will choose the path for you. So now, I will just leave this. You have to look at many of these future scenarios, and that is what will determine. What I give need not necessarily be the final. Many of you can imagine in a different form, but that's going to be. But we need to imagine a future, what it will be, at least for the next 30 years, then afterwards beyond. Another thing, in India we have one single items. I think earlier I was remarkably, the chairman of the State Higher Education Council was very candid about it. I was very, very happy, the last session which he did. In India, we want one solution, one UGC, one norm. You know why USA produces so good? Out of the 5,000 odd colleges and universities, different names in which it is there is no affiliating university. Each college is empowered to give degree. That is competition. It will be University College of, there is no University College, College of London, College of New York, all those things are degree giving. We need to learn that one size fit all, India. 1.2 million hearts are throbbing for a cricket. Most of the people in the bottom, it doesn't matter at all. So let us understand this Indian society is having about, this is a rough number, it can be interpreted with a variety of forms. Indian society has got many strata. 100 million very rich, even by European standard, whole the family and other things. 200 million middle, upper middle, etc. Then comes the 450 million, it can be actually split into 2. Technically poor, not technically poor, but a vast workforce lacking new skills, hard working. The bottom of the pie, I don't call it bottom, I call it the whole thing is a bulky base. We need to, many experts give one size fit all for all, everybody. Higher education, pull it up. It won't pull it up. About 70% of the one age group, age 1, age 2, age 3, age 4, age 5, if you look at, 20 million are there. 70 get filtered out at the age of